All right. So you've gotten together, you're seated next to your partners for the presidential campaign project. All right. Our next step is to learn about the methods of development that you're going to be using for writing this 3 to 4 minute speech. So if you go to AP Plans, you'll see methods of development right here. That's the PowerPoint that I'm about to share with you. So explain to you a little bit about the methods of development that you're going to be using. Okay. We've discussed methods of development a little bit already, but this is your first time to actually write using different types of methods of development. And each of you have been assigned as partners one of the 4 types method of development. So, methods of development are ways that we organize ideas and arguments within our writing. Most of the time, this happens naturally. Writers attempt to persuade, and it's not always something that they do intentionally. Like one of you asked last week in class, do writers actually think about these things? Some of them do, some of them don't. And you may find more than one method in a single piece of writing. So, the idea behind these methods of development is that they used to kind of focus in um, what you want to argue and help sharpen vague topics to add support. So, the main methods that we're going to be using for this are chronology or narrative, which involves telling your story and usually in like a historical sort of way. I was born, I was raised, I went to school, I did this as a career. So, chronology or narrative. Problem solution, finding a problem and seeking a solution for it. Cause and effect, or effect cause, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then comparison contrast, comparing one thing to another. There's also definition as a method of development and classification division, but those don't really work for this project. So we're focusing on these 4. So let's start with narrative chronology. So you use narrative chronology method of development when you want to tell a story, so anecdotal evidence to illustrate a concept. So material is given to the audience as it happened in time. So like I said, if you were writing a speech using narrative, you're all about yourself and you go back in time to when you were a child and what developed you into who you are today. It adds interest and information. So don't forget that when you're telling a story, you're also explaining qualities about yourself or lessons that you learned or things like that. And it can provide some background to the audience about why you feel the way you do about a certain issue or an idea. In a presidential speech, you write your speech to answer the question, what makes you the best choice for president? This is AP Language and Composition President, not President of America, AP Language and Composition President. So, what are some of the qualities that illustrate you as a leader, and what stories can you tell about those? Use some events from your life. And in this paper, you're going to be writing one event about yourself and one event about who you choose to be the vice president. So each of you will be writing a story about your own life and something that happened that illustrates who you will be as a leader. So choose a story from your heritage, from your childhood, or from recently that shows the qualities that you want to promote. So if you have been just given the narrative chronological mode, that's what you're going to be doing in your speech. All right. If you've been given problem solution mode or method of development, you are going to need to find an issue, a problem with our school community, and solving it is the goal of the speech. So, the way this is going to be organized is describing the problem followed by the solution. This is sometimes called delayed proposal, where you set out the problem and then you give the solution at the end. The other way that you can do is you can describe the solution, what you have planned to do, and then explain the problems that motivated it. So that's proposal first, as opposed to delayed proposal. You can also describe one problem, provide multiple solutions for that problem, and then say why your one solution is the best. This works good when there are multiple solutions from different people, and you want to kind of knock it down to the one that's yours, why other solutions don't work. In this presentation, by the way, you can find links to some different examples of writings for that, but they're not presidential campaign speeches. If this is your development and you are doing your presidential speech, you want to answer the question again, what makes you the best choice for president? And to do that, you're going to set yourself up as someone who knows how to solve problems. So you need to present a problem that needs to be solved, and you have to show that you know the answer and have worked out a solution to that problem. So choose one of the three options to the approach to organize your speech. So either present the problem first, followed by the solution, describe what you want to do, and then what problems initiated that solution, or one problem with multiple solutions and why your idea is the best. I'm going to give you a hint. The easiest one is delayed proposal. Set out the problem, what are some of the problems we've encountered, and then how you attempt to solve it. Okay, cause and effect or effect cause. So we use this method of development when we want to identify causes or effects and the results of those. So an example is if you were writing a paper about water pollution is the effect. What causes it are the causes of water pollution. And so you explain that. This is not problem solution. This is points out issues, but it doesn't supply a solution. It gives the idea that you have an idea of what the issues are and you maybe know how you're going to solve it. But the difference between this and problem solution is that you don't have to solve it. So, for example, if you can begin with a question, why are so many students failing to read assigned texts? Your effect would be the answers to that question, the causes. Why are students not reading assigned texts? So, in a presidential speech, why are you the best person to be elected president? But you want to point out issues without presenting a solution. So, you present a problem that needs to be solved. You show that you're aware of the effects of that problem, and you promise to work out a solution with your staff if elected. So, if you want to get your audience riled up about mistakes that have made by the school or by previous leaders, you don't have to think out a solution to do this. All right, the last method of development, comparison contrast. So you can use it to explore what something is or is not and show the best course of action among many. So you can point out some misconceptions that you might have. For example, blended versus traditional classrooms. What are the difference between those two? Digital versus hybrid learning. The COVID-19 versus the flu or a bad cold. Comparison contrast method of development. All right. And then if this is your presidential speech, the comparison contrast, you are answering again what makes you the best choice for president, but you need to either do one of two ways. Um, Present the story of a leader you admire and how you are similar, or present the story of a leader you do not admire and how you're different, or both of those things. Requires a little bit of narrative mode because you're going to need to talk about your life and their life and kind of compare them. We see this a little bit in Barack Obama's speech where he kind of implicitly, that means not directly, compares himself to Abraham Lincoln. But I want you to do this explicitly. Thinking about here's a leader that I think is wonderful, and this is what that leader has, and this is what I have. So compare or contrast or comparison and contrast. All right. So when you are done, now that we're done kind of taking a look at that, you're going to be looking at what you need to do. You are going to write a campaign's promises speech that's between 3 to 4 minutes in length. If you take a look at this sheet here that follows it, these are some of the things that are going to be on your campaign brainstorm. So let's jump into Schoology and let's look at that step 1, presidential speech writing brainstorm. This is what I want you to work on today. So if you look at this document, what qualities would you like to highlight? What events led you to the person you are? What issues do you see? What ideas do you have to improve the school or AP Lang and Comp? How do you differentiate yourself from other students in the class? Who's a leader you admire? How are you similar? Who's a leader you do not admire? How are you different? So if you look at the information right here, you'll see that each of those questions are sort of geared toward a specific method. But to think about answers to all of those questions will help you develop your idea of your speech. What would your motto be if you were doing this? Now, this part right here, assignments for writing the speech, you don't need to worry about right now, because we'll be getting to that a little bit later once you decide who's going to be your president and who's going to be your vice president. I want you to fill out this for yourself. One of the first things we'll do, and the campaign slogan and motto, come up with your own campaign slogan and motto. One of the first things that we're going to be doing tomorrow in class when I get back is you and your partner are going to get together and you are going to discuss who's going to do what portion, like who's going to be the president and who's going to be the vice president. And then you will be together writing the speech for the person who will be president to present. Let me walk you through how this is going to work. Take a look at class plans. So you will have some time working on drafting your speech in class. If you take a look, there's different steps that you're going to be doing. Developing claims and evidence and inserting rhetorical strategies are going to be parts of those steps for the next 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday. On Friday, you'll be submitting your first draft of that speech in class. Then you'll have the weekend to do any kind of corrections or changes to that speech. And groups 1 and 2 will be meeting for a caucus party. What that means, it sounds way more exciting because of the party caucus we're going to be doing. Anyway, it sounds way more exciting because the word party is in there. But basically, group 1, if you were in group 1, that is, let's see if I can find the ones, presidential groups. Whoever is chosen as the president in each of these pairs, the 3 of you will be sharing your speech to the rest of the group members on that day. And you'll be electing one to go on as your overall party candidate. Same thing for group 2. Whoever's elected as president on that Monday, you or who's ever chosen in your pair as president will be presenting their speech to the rest of the group, and the group 2, whatever party you decide to name yourselves, will be choosing one candidate to move on to the next level. Then if you look at the plans, groups 3 and 4, you'll be blended that day, and group 1 and 2 will be required. Group 3 and 4, you'll be coming in on Tuesday, and groups 1 and 2 will be blended, and you'll be giving your speech and then having an election afterwards. So on Wednesday in class, you won't know when you leave class who is the chosen candidate, but I will let you know on Wednesday, okay, who's the chosen candidate from your party. So we'll go from having 12 different candidates giving speeches down to having 4 different candidates by the time we get to Wednesday, October 27th. Okay. What I want you to do right now is go ahead and open up that presidential speech writing step 1 and think about yourself. Put yourself into the position of president, even if you're like, nah, I think I want to be the vice president for this one. I don't care. I want you to start with yourself. So begin by developing what your platform would be and what ideas you would have, and come up with your own slogan. One of the first things we'll do in class tomorrow is you'll be talking to your partner about this and deciding who has the best ideas and who wants to move forward with their ideas. And then you're going to be assigning different parts of the speech in class tomorrow. Okay. I think that's everything. If you have any questions, you can contact me, and I will be back in school on Wednesday. Have a great day.